On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 403 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable, easy to use, and feature-rich NHL Fantasy Hockey League manager. Sign up for a free account today at fantrax.com/lockedon. And you better get your fantasy hockey leagues cooking because we are only 8 days away from the regular season opener. The Ottawa Senators hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they'll have one final dress rehearsal on Saturday. They've also got a game coming up tomorrow against the Montreal Canadiens. We'll save that feature for tomorrow's show. But today, we've got a lot to get into because DJ Smith has been tinkering with the lines at practice, and he put together a super top line. We'll react to that and discuss the fallout of Stützle moving up to play with Norris and Batherson. And then we got to take a look on the back end because Victor Mete is earning this coach's trust. What does that mean not only for the philosophy of what the Senators are going to bring to each and every game, but also Michael Del Zotto, a guy who was signed to play in the top six. Is he all of a sudden looking on the outside in? All that plus we've got to look back way too early, you could say, but it's the 1-year anniversary of the 2020 NHL Draft. The Sens had 7 picks in the top 70. So you do the math on how successful it could be, including Tim Stützle. Would he go higher in a redraft? We'll get into all that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Wednesday, October 6th, and Pilsy, Tim Stützle has been an Ottawa Senator for exactly 1 year.
Man, that video, just watching that again just gave me chills, especially that must have been wild for Tim Stützle, assuming he was getting picked 3rd overall, and then the Jeopardy video comes in, and it's like, okay, all right, I'll play along with this, all right. And then Alex Trebek announces his name. That must have been such an amazing moment. All his family and friends are there at that bar in Germany, and we got to chat with them shortly after that moment happened. If you haven't checked it out, Ross reposted our interview with Tim Stützle on our YouTube page. Definitely rewatch that one. It's a good one, and it's crazy to see how young he looks there just a year later. It's the evolution has really happened. One season of NHL Pro Hockey will definitely age a guy, but it's fun to watch that video, and I'm glad the Sens did something different there, right? Like they could have just had anyone come up and announce it, but they said, hey, this is a big pick for the Ottawa Senators. This is a graduate from the University of Ottawa, so let's have some fun with this, and it was awesome.
Yeah, rest in peace to Alex Trebek, who passed away 1 month later after such a courageous battle with cancer. He was, such a shining light to this moment, right, for Tim Stützle. Think about it. He was overseas in Germany, had never been to Ottawa, said he'd only been to Canada once before, to Toronto. So coming over and getting that warm reception, I'm sure meant a lot to him. And I'm just ecstatic to see what he can bring this season now with 29 points, 56 games, more or less. I think he missed 2 games last year, but he's got 8 more points than anyone else from that draft class. A Lafreniere guy who goes 1st overall. We'll get into more of that 2020 draft later on in the show. But Pilsy, Tim Stützle, why not just continue on this path? He's got his first assignment on the top line. I don't think he's been on the top line even for a practice yet. He was at left wing there with Norris and Batherson. And I know the first reaction is, well, that's not Brady Tkachuk, but it is a great line, and I could see these guys doing some serious damage if they stay together tomorrow in Montreal.
Yeah, it's not the 4th overall pick that we're used to seeing there. However, it is a 3rd overall pick that's there now. And you know what? This is an interesting move for me because I thought the Formenton, Norris, Batherson line was amazing, right? Like I thought that line really clicked. Formenton, and call it a Sens Central bump, call it getting a better opportunity to play on a top line, wherever you side there. But he really made the most of his opportunities, and I thought he was going to be a mainstay on that line. But it's the preseason, and the point is these games don't count for anything, right? So why not try different things? Why not try getting arguably the most talented player on your team on that top line with your two other best players. It makes sense, right? So I think they should stick with Formenton on that line heading forward if Brady Tkachuk is not signed by the home opener. But this is a nice move. Like, why not try to stack up your line, see how it does? Because I also think it's good to have Stützle on that second line just to kind of even things out a little, right? So your top line isn't so heavy, and then your next three lines kind of dissolve out a little bit. So this will be an interesting experiment, and we'll see if it lasts.
Yeah, I think another thing DJ Smith is trying to accomplish here is place together other lines. You know that Stützle and Connor Brown can play well together. They've proved that time and time again with Shane Pinto down the middle. Pinto was still with Connor Brown, but Nick Paul does it all. Would you like to see that dynamic penalty killing duo of Paul and Connor Brown get some even strength time together?
I mean, they have great chemistry, right? They were a part of the Given Gold goal at the World Championship. So you got to love that and you got to respect that. And I think they seem like two guys that would get along off the ice as well. Like, I think that's just a good pair to have. However, I really like them on the penalty kill. And like, Nick Paul's great and Nick Paul truly does it all. So I don't think he's going to struggle in this position. But I wouldn't mind if you're taking Formenton off that top line, get him on that second line with Pinto and Connor Brown, right? Like, I think really Formenton can be an effective middle six guy. Maybe the top line for a long period of time is a little bit too much to ask for him so far, just because he's not used to playing that much since he only played a third, fourth line role last season. But I would love to see him get an opportunity to play with Pinto and then to get an opportunity to play with last season's top scorer in Connor Brown too, right? So I think it's fine that Nick Paul's there. However, I really see Nick Paul as being a much more effective bottom six. Well, I was going to say winger, but now with Colin White looking like he's out long term, I would have no issue with Nick Paul moving to the center position either. But what I'm trying to say is I think Nick Paul is better suited for a bottom six role, whereas Formenton, get him some offensive opportunities and get him with some offensive players to really spark things there.
And where do you stand on the whole Tyler Ennis situation? He's talked to the media enough for a PPO guy. It seems like it's all but certain that he'll get a contract here going into the season.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with Brady Tkachuk still not signed. Like, basically, we're just waiting to see if Tyler Ennis signs a league minimum $750K, or if he signs just random, I'm going to throw out a number here, $1.1 million deal instead to get the Sens over that cap. Like, hey, if you're Tyler Ennis, having Brady Tkachuk sitting out this long is so good for your value. Like, he could double his contract just to get the Sens over the floor. Like, that's a nice little boost there, going from $750K to $1.1 million to get the Sens above the floor. So this could be really advantageous for a guy like Tyler Ennis. And I think, you know, if he was someone who hadn't been on the team before, the guys aren't used to seeing him around, then maybe you're thinking, okay, I don't know if he quite has this in the bag. But he had a great season in Ottawa. He struggled in Edmonton. It seems like he likes being here. The guys like him. DJ Smith likes him. The media likes him. He's comfortable. So I would say it's all but done. It's just a matter of how much money is he going to make.
He practiced on the fourth line, the quote-unquote fourth line, with Andrew Agozzino and Zach Sanford. Agozzino is an interesting one to me because, of course, he got slid up based on the fact that Colin White is out, but I'm with you. I think I'd prefer to see Nick Paul slide over at center and maybe, you know, you get Parker Kelly into the lineup, a guy who's just on the outside looking in, the extra forwards, because if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the top four lines all there, the extra skaters today, Logan Shaw, Parker Kelly, and Scott Sabrin. Which one of these lines are you most interested? Let's say that these are the four lines in tomorrow's game. What are you looking at most?
Well, I mean, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit this time, Ross, and I'm going to go with that top line. Like, I want to see Tim Stützle, hopefully, is a guy that's going to be around just as long as Drake Batherson, and hopefully Josh Norris is going to be around just as long as Drake Batherson, too. So I want to see maybe this ends up being a really good line, and you get Brady Tkachuk moved into a second-line role, which isn't a bad thing. Like, if you can get Brady Tkachuk up against lesser competition and playing a little bit less, I think you might get a little more out of him. And maybe he doesn't feel that much responsibility and kind of weight on his shoulders. So maybe this could be an opportunity for a whole new top line to form and a line of guys who are similar age groups. And TSN 1200, they mentioned a quote where all of those guys can speak German. Now, Tim Stutzle has mentioned that Josh Norris's German isn't that great. Jake Batherson's, I think, is a little more up to par. But
no, you can't.
I got to flip there.
Liable, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I got to flip there. But either way, it'd be hilarious to have an all-German speaking line as your top line in the NHL. I can't say that's probably never happened before. So that would be a lot of fun too going forward.
No doubt about that. For me, it's going to see just how can Chris Tierney keep up with Alex Formenton.
And that's the thing. I don't want
man.
Formey with Tierney. That just doesn't make sense, right?
It makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So hopefully they get that figured out in tomorrow's game. Austin Watson, also a guy who plays with a ton of pace and speed. So this is another test for Chris Tierney. He's the guy who's really been on the hot seat this training camp, not only from the fans, but he gets his first opportunity between Stützle and Connor Brown. Can't do anything with it. Then he's sitting on the outside looking in, not even getting game action in the last meeting against the Leafs. Then a centerman goes down. All of a sudden, he gets an opportunity again in more of a third line role, something that we think he's more touted for. Oh boy. But that's going to be a task for him to keep up with the speed of Alex Formenton. All right, Pilsy. So that's the offensive situation for the Ottawa Senators. We'll get into the D-core and a philosophy that DJ Smith hasn't really embraced. Is he coming around on using Victor Mete or Eric Brandstrom in a top four role without injuries, displacing guys ahead of them? We'll get into all that. Plus, our 2020 look back of the NHL draft exactly 1 week later. But we got a new sponsor alert, and it's based in Ottawa. Shopify. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So startups, upstarts, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. For me, I love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. And if you're in Ottawa, it's literally down the street. You just hear all the talk, oh, it's a boring government town. No. Shopify's headquarters are in Ottawa, and Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses. From first sale to full scale, they reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify.
Guys, go to shopify.com/lockedonnhl, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/lockedonnhl right now. That's shopify.com/lockedonnhl. Ross, I just tapped in that backdoor pass for you there, and
You're welcome.
got the goal with Shopify. So you guys now have your promo code to use it. And this episode is brought to you by Fantrax. If you are ready for fantasy hockey, you need to check out Fantrax. It's a free NHL Fantasy Hockey League manager. It's the most customizable, easy to use, and feature-rich platform in the industry. Sign up for free today, and as a special offer for Locked On U-Team fans, you'll be entered to win an official NHL signed Nathan MacKinnon jersey. Not bad. Simply go to fantrax.com/lockedon to sign up today. The top dynasty fantasy hockey platform in the industry, guys. Fantrax is the most customizable, and it's the best experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball league. So no matter what style of fantasy you like, they've got it at Fantrax. Go deep with the ultimate keeper and dynasty leagues. Create a simple redraft league. That's what I like. I like the redraft leagues. You get a fresh start every time. Or even make a customizable best ball league with up to 2,000 teams. I don't know what that's all about, but that's something I'm going to be checking out. 2,000 teams? That sounds wild. Coming from another service like, are you on Yahoo, ESPN, one of those? Well, you can import any of your current leagues and customize if needed. So they make transitioning easy. If you've ever had a trade go wrong or made a mistake by dropping a player, if you've had leagues in Yahoo or ESPN, migrate to Fantrax for a better experience. You don't have to deal with that. Fantrax commissioner tools allow you to undo any move with a simple click. They have all the leagues: hockey, football, baseball, basketball, college football, golf, soccer, and NASCAR. There's nothing you can't have a league for on Fantrax. Fantasy sports doesn't sleep, and neither does Fantrax, guys. Their seasons run 365 days a year. So it's your fantasy team every day, kind of like the Locked On Senators podcast. There's a reason fantasy players who try Fantrax make it the permanent home for their leagues. So sign up for free today and enter to win an official NHL signed Nathan MacKinnon jersey. Just go to fantrax.com/lockedon and sign up today. That's fantrax.com/lockedon. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports.
Make sure you're Locked On Senators wherever you download your podcast as well. Available on YouTube in video form. Pilsy mentioned earlier, we're re-releasing some of our older interviews from before it was a video podcast. So if you want to go back and check out our conversation with a young Timmy superstar, you can go do that on YouTube at Locked On Senators and on Twitter at Sens Central as well. Pilsy, let's talk about some defense. We know the goaltending is more or less set. Philly franchise is still up with the team, but we expect it to be Matt Murray and Anton Forsberg. All right, that being said, up on the top pair, nothing changes. Thomas Chabot with Artem Zub. We hope that continues through at least the start of the NHL season. Thomas Chabot probably still kicking himself on that backdoor play against Michael Amadio and the Leafs on Monday or Tuesday. The days are all going
Monday.
into the next.
It's been a while.
It has been. This is the longest stretch in a bit, but following the preseason, we'll have the excitement leading up to the home opener. We'll be in town. I'll be in Ottawa actually all week coming up next. So that'll be great in the heart of our nation's capital. That being said, that second pair, all of a sudden you're looking at it and saying, okay, so the experiment's over with Michael Del Zotto and Nikita Zaitsev as the shutdown pair?
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way. And if they got bumped off, they're going to give Brandstrom and Holden a chance here, and that's going to be interesting. And Mete and Josh Brown are once again a tandem there. So I think it's interesting what DJ Smith's trying with the defense partners here. And that's the point of the preseason, right? You got to try different things out. And we didn't like Michael Del Zotto's play in last game, so maybe that's DJ Smith also being like, I didn't like that either. Let's see what Brandstrom and Holden can do. But I'm still of the mindset, I'd be shocked if we're in a scenario where we see Brandstrom and Mete both playing in this lineup in the NHL.
Yeah, I got to think that at this point, the coach likes what Victor Mete brings a little bit more. I don't know where you saw he's with Josh Brown. Where I pulled up Nicolas St. Pierre was with Zaitsev. It was Zaitsev and Mete.
Yeah, okay. I think that's why we had a little confusion there. On TSN 1200, it says Wednesday's practice lines. And Chabot and Zub, Del Zotto, Zaitsev, Mete, Josh Brown, and Brandstrom, Holden.
Because I've got from Nicolas St. Pierre, this is why we need to get into the rink, right? And it won't be too long before it'll be all hands on deck. But yeah, I've got here Del Zotto, Josh Brown, Mete, Zaitsev, Brandstrom, Holden. So maybe things mixing up, but where it does make sense either way is that Victor Mete post-practice was just heaped praise by DJ Smith, mentioning that there's a stereotype that smaller defenders are all offense and can't defend. I wonder who thinks that. Couldn't be DJ Smith, a big burly defenseman himself. But that being said, man, Victor Mete seems to be warming up to him. What would that mean for him going forward? This is a guy who, once he came to Ottawa, started playing more and more, especially down the stretch once Thomas Chabot got hurt. Like, can he seriously be a top four defenseman on this team?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't see him as a top four guy personally. I think he works much better in a bottom pair role, and then you can get him with a guy like Josh Brown or a guy like Nick Holden, and I think that makes a lot more sense. But like, he's still young, and he's got lots of NHL experience, more than a lot of defenders in this Ottawa blue line. So, like, there's definitely a chance that if he plays well, you could see him in a top four role, and maybe he's on a second power play unit. Like, that's something that wouldn't be too crazy when you're looking at the other guy's offensive ability. himself and to try to get his foot in the door and be a long stay in this Ottawa Senators franchise rather than just kind of it worked out, you got picked up by waivers, now we're going to ship you off once your value increases, right? So I think if Victor Mete likes Ottawa and wants to stick around here and wants to stay with his roommate and CHL teammate in Alex Formanton, then that's definitely something that he's going to need to take a look at this opportunity and seize it.
Yeah, he only got 14 games with Ottawa last year, same as he had with the Montreal Canadiens, had one less point, but he definitely did impact the defense positively in his time in the nation's capital. With Victor Mete, though, right? Because you look at it in junior, the points were there, almost a point per game his final year in London, but his career high is 4 goals in an NHL season, 11 points, and that was in 1920, the COVID-shortened season with the Montreal Canadiens. He did have 13 assists, I should say, the year before, but no goals in 71 games. What do you think his offensive upside is? We know he's a puck mover, but the points don't necessarily point to that.
Yeah, and I think he's not going to be much of a goal scorer, right? Like, I don't see him as a guy with a great shot. He had a nice opportunity in the game against the Leafs. I think it was Agazino that slid it across the ice, and Mete came up and had some open ice to shoot, but he just kind of did a low shot that hit off Allen's pads there, and it wasn't really a big scoring opportunity. So I'm not too sure about his goal scoring prowess, but like you said, this guy's a puck mover. I can see him picking up a decent amount of secondary assists from starting to play in their own zone or in the neutral zone, and then the top guys up front kind of finish the play off. So, or if, like I mentioned, maybe he gets some time on a second power play unit, he can get some assists there. But I really see him, like, I think a good season for Victor Mete would mimic Mike Riley's last year, right? Like maybe he can get one goal, just lucky a bounce happens and he gets one goal just so there's not a big old donut sitting beside him in the assists. But I would say somewhere between 15 and 20 assists for Victor Mete is definitely attainable. And then somewhere under 5 goals is where I would have him at. So if he can surpass the 20-point mark, let's say, I don't know, 18 assists and 3 goals, something like that, I think that'd be an all right season for him.
Will that be more or less than Michael Del Zotto gets?
I think he gets more points than Del Zotto. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to think of Del Zotto. We haven't seen enough of him lately, and I haven't been impressed so far. And I really think it's going to be one of those scenarios where the veterans, they get the benefit of the doubt and they start things off. And then the young guys say, hey, you got to put me here. Like, I'm going to beat this guy out for this job. I'm faster. I'm smarter. I'm going to move the puck up the ice better, hopefully, than Del Zotto. So I think Victor Mete will have more points than Del Zotto at the end of this season.
Who would you rather? Let's say the top unit is Chabot and Zub, and then for argument's sake, we'll go with Mete and Zaitsev as the second one. Who would you rather be the third pair? Del Zotto and Josh Brown, or Brandstrom and Holden?
I would rather Brandstrom and Holden, but I have a hard time seeing that happen unless Del Zotto's play really slides, because like they signed him to a 2-year deal as a free agent. That shows there's some faith there. I don't know. I guess you can't pin that too much because they sort of did that with Josh Brown. They didn't sign him as a free agent, but they traded and then gave him 2 more years right away. So maybe that doesn't mean that they're locked in there, but personally, it's time for the franchise to be in the NHL. Contract situation, it's likely that he is going to start in Belleville just so they don't have to lose one of those veteran guys right away. But personally, I would like to see Brandstrom in the NHL, and I think he's ready for it.
To be fair, they could roll with 8 defensemen. They don't need to send him down.
It's true.
You really want to have 2 defense up in the press box. I guess the counter argument, as I'm just having like an argument with myself somehow, is that you'd almost rather have 8 defensemen in the NHL than 7, so that when you're running practice drills, you can keep everyone together and you're not having that 7th guy either rotating in and breaking up reps that these other guys could be building chemistry, or the 7th guy just sits on the sidelines and make sure the water balls are full for Shabby and all the studs who are getting the big minutes. But I'm right with you. I think that not only the Brandstrom angle that you pointed at, but contract aside, we know that Del Zotto's making $2 million and Holden's making 1.5 or 1.7.
1.7.
Holden has been much superior to Del Zotto and Josh Brown through training camp. So I know that we gave Josh Brown a couple of shout outs. He also had a mistake or two, but that's normal. That being said, Holden for me has probably been one of the top 4 defensemen through training camp. So I just don't see a world where he can be a healthy scratch on opening night.
Yeah, I agree. He has been a lot better than I thought. He got that assist on the Connor Brown goal, the lone goal in the Sens game against the Leafs. Ross, I think me and other Sens fans got a little nervous when you're talking about having 8 defensemen available and maybe not 2 of them sitting out. Maybe we go back to an 11-7 scenario here. I don't know how effective that would be with this crop of defensemen here, but that would be wild if DJ Smith came back to that old system.
Yeah, could you imagine that? We go 11-7, and I just got to pull this up. If you're watching again, subscribe on YouTube as well. And we've got, somebody's upset that we said 11-7.
Guy Boucher.
Oh, the good old days.
Reminder,
who broke that firing? Never talk about another man's job. That being said, all right, Billsy, great chat about the lines and what has been 2 days now without a Sens game. That was good. Without a Sens game, but they'll be back in action in Montreal, where Guy Boucher is currently residing. He's an analyst with TVA Sports there, but it'll be good to get another test against the Montreal Canadiens after splitting last weekend's home and home. Ottawa winning on home ice and then losing in Montreal. So great to get on the right track in Montreal. Do you know that the Sens and Habs don't play in the regular season until February? Do you see that?
That's crazy. And that's one of 2 games in February. I think they're playing the Islanders and the Habs all the entire month of February with the Olympic break. But that is crazy that it's taking that long for them to play each other.
Yeah, I'm searching it up right now. Where else? They must play at the end of the year a few times. Yeah, they play March 19th at Montreal, April 5th at Montreal, and then home on April 23rd to Montreal. So yeah, that's they're waiting certainly late into the season. And then, so it's the first game back from the Olympic break, home to Montreal. And then they go on a tough road trip where they'll be at Tampa, Florida, Vegas, St. Louis, and hopefully a freebie at Arizona in the middle of that trip.
Maybe Mike Hoffman will finally be healthy by February, and we'll see him.
All right. Well, yeah, if you're on Fantrax, maybe stay away from Mike Hoffman in this year's fantasy league. But once you have your fantasy team, you want those guys to do well, but you also want teams to ride or die with. And that's why BetOnline is the perfect place if you're going to wager on hockey, football, baseball, basketball. It's really the golden age of sports wagering. And why not go to BetOnline and create a free account right now? And because you're a listener of Locked On Senators podcast, you're entitled to a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. How great is that? You put in $200, bingo, bango, bongo. That's 100 free play dollars right there in your account. And you can use that whichever way you see fit. And then here's how you do it. I got to give you the promo code. I'm pulling it up right now on YouTube. Promo code Locked On. So when you make your free account at BetOnline, it's promo code Locked On for that 50% welcome bonus. So don't sit on the sidelines anymore. Get into the action. And don't forget that promo code Locked On to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
And now a word from our friends over at Built Bar. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. If you haven't tried these out yet, I promise they will fool you into thinking this is something that you picked up that you are just grabbing as a delicious treat. But then you look at the back and you're like, oh, there's some great health benefits here as well. This is awesome. And I love Built Bars. Built Bars keep me going on a daily basis. They're low calorie, low sugar, but high protein and high fiber. And some of these other protein bar companies, they'll hammer out 4, 5, maybe 6 flavors and hope that keeps you happy. Not Built Bar. They have so many different amazing flavors. And it seems like every time I'm going to their website at built.com, they've got something new or they're bringing back a beloved flavor. And that's what they've done once again. You may have tried all the Built Bar protein bars, but if you guys like marshmallows, they have a whole lineup. It's called Built Bar Puffs. And they're basically like their protein bars, always covered in 100% chocolate. You gotta love that. And then it's a marshmallow inside, and they have so many cool flavors. They're bringing back one of my favorite flavors. It's Built Puffs Churro. If you like the Mexican dessert treat, the nice cinnamon deep fried dough, it's amazing. One of my favorites to have after a taco at a late night. Get yourself some Built Bar Puffs and the churro flavor. And to sweeten that even a little bit more, since you're a loyal listener to the Locked On Senators podcast, we're going to hook you up with the promo code when you're at Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your next order. That's something you got to try. One more time, guys, built.com. Get your promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your next order. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
Make sure you're locked on Senators wherever you download your podcasts and on YouTube. And thank you for making us your first listen Monday through Friday when you're looking to stay up to date on all things Ottawa and Belleville Senators. Little tease, on Friday we will have a Belleville Senator on the show. And here's how we'll tease it, Pilsy. He's someone who our recent guests have both brought up as someone who really impressed them as a guy they didn't know much about when it came to the Belleville Sens, but then they saw this kid play and they're like, oh man, he's going to play in the NHL. We'll tease it further tomorrow. Stay tuned for all that. But Pilsy, what we can say is he was not drafted in 2020, but that draft happened exactly 1 year ago. Now, we'll get into who went where. I've got the list. I'm going to pull it up on YouTube. We're not going to go through all 31 picks. However, the Senators having 2 top 5 draft picks. The first time since I believe it was the New York Islanders in like 2000 who had 2 picks in the top 5. And one of them was Rafi Torres. I forget who their other
the Sedins.
Oh, right. But that was 99. I think it happened the next year.
Okay.
In 2000. I got to pull that one up as well. But now looking back a year later, do you think the Sens made the right selections, both with Stützle and Jake Sanderson at 5th overall?
Well, I think this will tell you all you need to know, Ross. I would definitely say they made the right selection with Tim Stützle at 3rd overall. But having said that, I still don't know how much I would change the redraft, right? Like, I think if you're the New York Rangers, it makes a lot of sense to take Lafreniere, right? Like, he's a guy you can insert into your lineup right away. He's a good left winger. And I think it just made a lot of sense for them to take him. And then if you're the LA Kings, you want that center depth that's been lacking in that team for so long. Sure, they have Kopitar holding it down, but they need other centers to really do well there. And now they've got a whole crop of really great centermen there. And it's hard to pass on a guy that has that size and that skill. Maybe he doesn't look like the number 2 overall pick right now, but you don't draft for immediate impact. You draft for longevity. And I think for them, that made a lot of sense. And then if you're the Ottawa Senators, you needed to inject some serious skill and talent into your lineup, right? Like, they've got the size, they've got the mean players, they've got the Brady Tkachuks, the Ridley Greggs, the Tyler Bouchers, the Austin Watsons. They have all that already. They needed someone with pure talent, some magic hands. They needed a superstar, and they got one with Timmy Superstar.
Did they ever? As I pull up the full list of first-round talent.
This was an amazing first round, man.
Yeah, you look back, and I mean, only 4 of them played in the NHL. Quentin Byfield had 6 games. Jamie Drysdale had 24, but the only 2 that were full-time NHLers was Stützle and Lafreniere. I mentioned earlier in the show, I couldn't remember exactly. So he missed 3 games last year. So Stützle played 53 games with the Ottawa Senators and was 8 points clear of anyone else in this draft. Now, there looks like there's some mid to late round gems. Guys like Brendan Brisson's looking really good and tracking well. Dawson Mercer at 18th overall. The Chinnikov, the guy who nobody even knew who he was, all of a sudden he looks like he's going to be a star in the making. And Gatineau's own Henrik Lapierre with Washington, who slid a little bit on our boards. And then guys like Marco Rossi, who went 9th to Minnesota. Everyone thought that was a complete steal. And then he missed all of last year recovering from a bad bout of COVID. Now he's back, and let's see how the former 67 star will look in Minnesota. Yeah, it's way too early to be doing this. Of course, as a Sens fan at the time, I was hoping for Stützle and Raymond were my 2 hopefuls, especially once Byfield went off the board. I was entranced. And we had Cam Robinson on the show, remember? And he was talking about what it would mean to have Tkachuk and Byfield on the same
Nightmare
line.
Fuel was his quote.
Nightmare fuel. I like that. But you look at nightmare fuel. How about having Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson both playing 30 minutes a night? And do you remember when we had Craig Button? And by the way, I got to reach out to Craig, get him back.
Yeah, we got to get him back on. Yeah.
That being said, when we had him on last, right after the draft, he compared Jake Sanderson's skating to Scott Niedermayer. And that's maybe the best compliment somebody can get when it comes to their skating. The smoothest skater in NHL history, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, as much as we wish we didn't have to count that one in 2007. you're looking at how Jake Sanderson's tracking, a guy who I believe was ranked lower than 5 on almost every board. And yes, once the COVID pause hit, he started tracking higher and higher when people started looking more and more at the details of what he brings. But now he's on pace to become the Hobey Baker winner. I know that's maybe a little much pressure for a defenseman this early on. The season hasn't even started yet for North Dakota, but
I think he's up to that pressure, though. I would say that's probably a goal of his. Like, I don't think it's too crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then turning pro right after. So to me, it's a little bit early. Well, to everyone, it's a bit early. It's been 1 year. But Drysdale, you look at 1 pick later, right? He goes 6th overall. Those are the first 2 defensemen who went in the first round, or top 5. I should clarify, top 6. And he's got 24 games under his belt, but had the OHL happen, those wouldn't have been games he would have played. So I don't see him as a step ahead. I was having a conversation on Twitter earlier this morning where the most rational conversations happen. Somebody saying that Jake Sanderson now has to catch up to what Drysdale's done. What?
To 24 games in a meaningless NHL season that he only was allowed the opportunity because a CHL league shut down for the first time like ever. Yeah. Good on that guy. Keep running that argument.
Yeah, so we'll have to reassess this later on. But man, Tim Stützle is an Ottawa Senator. Like, doesn't that just bring a smile to your face? And I would recommend everyone go just type in at TSN 1200 Stützle give everything on your search bar, and it'll come up. The interview he did right after the draft, TSN 1200, when they posted it, it was "I will give everything for Sens" was the caption, and it was just such a great interview. It was like 3 a.m. in Germany, and he just sounded so elated. And I love the emotion that he brings. Right, it's a bit different than Brady's emotion, which he usually keeps on the ice. But you could tell, and we mentioned it yesterday, Timmy was pissed that they lost that game against the Maple Leafs in what would most consider a meaningless preseason game. But they ask him about his goals. My goals are team goals, right? Everything is about the team, but he's so passionate. And that might be something that, as a leader, Brady this year, and a guy who we hope gets to camp sooner rather than later, like Timmy's been smashing his stick on the bench a little bit when chances aren't going in. Do you think that he's going to not tone down the emotion, but control it a little bit better as he matures?
Yeah, definitely. And I think everyone does eventually. You learn you have to, right? Like Timmy was saying, it was a struggle to get through a 56-game season last year. Just the grind of having to play the same teams. NHL schedule's tough with all the COVID regulations. Like, he was tired at the end of that year. So now going into an 82-game season, if you're going 0 to 100 that quickly on every single missed shot, you're going to tucker yourself out, and you're going to run out of sticks to break eventually. So I think as he matures, that's going to happen. But I got no problem with that. You should be pissed. That was an absolute dog crap ending to that Leafs game. Like, for them to just, your top defenseman, our number 1 organizational value ranked player, to let a guy who the Sens just let walk away score a game-winning goal with a minute and a half left up against your biggest rival. That can't happen. You can't be okay with that. So I love that Timmy got upset about that, because you should be upset about that.
Yeah. Going back one more point, and you'd rather have to rein him in than to push him further and harder. So from that standpoint, man, Timmy he's a special talent. And he was one of 10 players that the Senators selected on this day last year. And get this, Pilsy, of those 10, draft. Already 5 of them have played pro hockey. Stützle's got 53 NHL games. Ridley Gregg got that handful of AHL experience. Roby Yarventi played 4 games and will continue this year on Belleville's top line. Igor Sokolov, the Shark Man. This guy's already got a nickname, so that's an easy one to discuss. And then Levi Marilainen, he's coming over to Kingston, so he's not one of the pros, but 181st overall, the final pick that the Sens made in this draft. He's already got a full year of pro, and I thought Cole Reinhardt really looked the part when he played with Belleville last year. So you look at that, and then Daou is already coming over. So outside of Engstrand and the 2 college kids, but that's a different story. Outside of Engstrand, all of the players who are eligible to sign have signed NHL contracts. I think that goes a long way to stepping this rebuild into the next phase.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was an incredible draft, and it was so much fun to cover this draft because we had nothing, like literally nothing else going on. So Ross, you and I dove into that. I don't think I've studied for anything as much as I studied for that 2020 NHL draft. Like,
no, me neither.
Exams, college, high school. Yeah, nothing I put that much effort in as I did with this draft. And we got rewarded with it. This was so much fun to cover all these players. And yeah, like you said, I would say everyone other than Engstrand is on track as a prospect.
Yeah.
Like they're where they should be or further. Yeah, exactly. So that was a great draft. You got to credit Trent Mann and the entire scouting staff there.
Did you see, speaking of our former teachers, Roger Lajoie is now a marketing guy for the Sens?
Wow, moving on up. He was working with us in Belleville. Yeah, it's selling 50-50 tickets on the floor, doing everything he needed to do. So that's great news for Roger.
Yeah, the Raj 590, an absolute beauty. We should get him on the show. That
we should.
Great. You've done a couple guest appearances with him as well on 590.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Him and another classmate of ours, Kyle Norris, he produces the show. They reached out to me, and before Leafs and Sen games, I've done 2 hits on 590 and talking with Raj. So that was just awesome.
Wow. Speaking of the Belleville Senators, a monumental moment for @SensCentral on Twitter. The Belleville Senators have started following us, and I'm going to say that is a credit to Footy on the Air. We absolutely love Footy, and he's going to be the reason why you're going to hear a lot more voices from the Belleville Senators, including him, because he's still going to be calling games with Jack Miller. So I'm excited.
We got to get Footy back on too. I love having him talk about the Sens.
100%. And I guess we can tease this now because we're going to be in Ottawa next Thursday for the home opener. And then Pilsy and I are going to make the trip up to Laval. We're going to be at the Belleville Sens first game of the season the next night. So if anyone's making the trip up to Laval, maybe Stewie, we're going to have to see our boy. He'll rock that old sicko Sens, the SNES, the one where it's like up, the black one.
Hey, Ross, are we true Sens sickos or what? Preseason opener in Winnipeg, we're there. Home opener in Ottawa, we're there. The season opener for the Belleville Senators in Laval, we're there. Let's go.
Yeah, neither of us living in Ottawa at the moment, although that's born and raised for me. It's important for us to make our presence felt at these events because we don't want to be out of sight, out of mind. We want to be as locked on to the Senators as we can be from our geographical location. Thank God we're doing this in 2021, Pilsy, and not 81, or else we would be out of work. Okay, last thing before we go for today, I'm pulling back up on Twitter or on YouTube, I should say, our complete guide to the 2020 NHL Draft for the Ottawa Senators. And if you're listening, I'll just quickly roll through it. 3rd overall, Tim Stützle. 5th overall, Jake Sanderson. 28th overall, Ridley Gregg. 33rd, Roby Jarventi. 44th, the K-Train, Tyler Clevin. 61st, Igor Sokolov. 71st, Levi Marilainen. 155th, Eric Engstrand. 158th, Philip Dao. And 181st, Cole Reinhardt. Out of all of those, Pilsy, who is your biggest riser? Whose value has improved the most over the last 365 days?
This might be an unpopular answer, but I'm going Levi Marilainen. Like, to go from a guy who was literally laughed at by the entire internet being like, who even is this guy? Like, not the classic, oh, wow, Sens reach. Like, past that, where we don't even know who this guy is. And our jobs are to cover goalies for the draft. And we've been working on this for over 8 months. Like, for that to happen is just insane. And then for him to put the numbers he did in Finland to get, I assume he's going to be the number 1 starting goalie in Kingston. Yes. A team that is not just some random ass OHL team. They've got one of the best players of this generation on that team, and Shane Wright. Ooh. So that is an incredible bounce back from being a guy no one knew at the draft and drafted in the 3rd round. And he's got some serious potential. So I'm going to go with Levi Marilainen there.
By the way, I just got off track because you mentioned Shane Wright. I'm going to see Connor Bedard tonight, who could be the next Sidney Crosby. I think that he's probably even a step up on Shane Wright. I was looking at his numbers. Connor Bedard's numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. In the under 18s this past year, as a 15-year-old, he had 7 goals and 7 assists in 7 games. At the under 18s.
Yeah, wow.
So he's playing that many age groups up. And as a 15-year-old in the WHL, 28 points in 15 games. That's 2 points per game, Pilsy, in the WHL. And then I looked back because obviously, and hey, I pulled up his page and Connor Bedard, hockey's next superstar, just came up. Okay, quickly before I continue on, getting back to my biggest riser from the 2020 NHL draft for the Senators. Connor Bedard, when he played at the West Van Academy, and Crooker was North Shore. This is a West Vancouver. Pillsy played 66 games over 2 years, 66 games. He had 107 goals, not points, goals.
Jesus. Oh my God.
172 points in 68 games. Like, imagine being on that guy's team.
Oh,
decent.
Wild. Holy.
Yeah. So I'm really fired up. I'm really fired up. And while we're getting back to that, I did mention that the Islanders were the last team with 2 top 5 picks. And I was right. So 99 was the two Sedins, second and third overall. Oops, Patrick Stefan, first overall that year. 2000, Rick DiPietro first overall, Raffi Torres fifth for the New York Islanders. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, back to the Ottawa Senators draft and whose stock has raised the most. Friend of the show, Igor Sokolov. You kidding me, man? This guy was passed over twice. He was passed over twice. And he comes in and steps right into pro hockey and leads the Belleville Senators in goals, 15 goals in 35 games. And I'm just so excited to see how much his value can even improve more. Because I remember watching him at the World Juniors. He stood out. He's enormous. So when you saw him patrolling with Team Russia, you're like, okay, who is this guy? And then obviously as you get to know him, you cheer for him to no end just because he's such a great dude. But the on-ice talent for a guy who went 61st overall in that year, I think it's just incredible. The rise of prominence for him as a winger in the Sens organization. Jake Sanderson, I was thinking about making an argument for him, but going 5th overall, like the value's already pretty high. So can he improve any more? But hey, a great day in Ottawa Senators history. I think we're going to be looking back at this day, Pillsy, for years to come.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, Sokolov's a great answer because this is a guy too. When the Sens selected him, people were like, why are they taking an overager that's been passed on twice this early? Like, what are they doing? Well, they know high character guy, right? Like he's coming from Cape Breton. They obviously, I assume, got a glowing review from Drake Batherson about his billet brother. So this is someone that I think they really saw the raw skill there and were like, if we can teach this big Russian kid to skate properly, we can get him with our power skating coach and we can figure those things out. He could be the makings of a real good sniper. And I think that's what we're starting to see here. And hell, that's what we saw last year. Like you mentioned, led the Belleville Senators with 15 goals.
But not quite ready for the NHL just yet. And that's why Tyler Ennis looks like he's going to get an opportunity with Ottawa. And we got to give him a shout out because it's his 32nd birthday today.
Nice.
So happy birthday to Tyler Ennis. And thank you very much for listening. The Locked On Senators. We're very ecstatic and appreciative of everyone making us your first listen of the day when you're looking for Ottawa Senators coverage. Pillsy and I could not be more humbled by the growth of this show, and we hope to keep it rolling. And the Senators are a week away tomorrow from playing meaningful hockey. An 82-game season, not the same opponents over and over and over again, and we'll be with you every step of the way. But for today, we say goodbye. Stay tuned for the interview on Friday. We'll tease it further tomorrow. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.